Hello, and welcome to the Steve and Mark Discuss podcast. So, without any waiting, over to Steve with the next subject.
Hi, people. Sergey Lavrov, he is the foreign minister for Russia. And to me, he's always been a level-headed guy, quite honest and open. And he said something the other day in one of these conferences that they have from time to time. And he said that the Western leaders are deliberately setting up crises around the world. And up to a certain point, he's right, but also he's wrong. Because it isn't just the leaders from the West that are trying to set up crises around the world. There are an awful lot of political leaders who are forming crises in the Middle East, in Africa, South America. The latest in South America with Venezuela and Guyana. It wasn't the Venezuelan people that decided they're going to invade Guyana. It was Maduro. We're going to take here. That was his opinion. That was his idea. When Hamas flew in with the paragliders, the Israelis were having a party in Gaza, along with all the people were partying together.
Yeah.
If you were Arabic, Jewish, it didn't matter. They were all in a rave. And so somebody somewhere said, "Hey, get an army of blokes, get them in there and shoot everybody up."
Yeah.
Which is, that didn't come from the bottom up.
No.
From the bottom up, they'd still be partying.
Yeah.
They'd still be in the party. And so, we can see Russia having a squabble with Ukraine is being propped up by the West, being propped up by the US and Europe and Germany, to the detriment of their own people. Of their own people. And if you ask the Germans, the people on the ground, do you want to have a war with Russia? They're going to say no. No, we're suffering here.
Yeah.
There's not the podcast with what's she called, Lily, the German lady.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. She's
Survival
on the
Lily.
Yeah.
Lily.
Yeah.
And she's almost in tears because I mean she's a middle class German.
Yeah.
Trying to be a hippie, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay. But you can see now the strain is beginning to run across her face.
Yeah.
And she's worried because her quality of life. She can no longer have 3 plates in the restaurant. She can't have the pudding. She can only have 2 plates in the restaurant.
Well,
and the quality of life in Germany has gone down.
Yeah. In fairness about her, she is a bit of a prepper. She is a survivalist, and she knows how to survive in the woods and cook her fish. And yeah,
she has her vegetable garden to rely on.
Well, apparently, actually, no, she has videos about her being survivalist in the wilderness. If you look there, she's been on a TV program about it as well, I think, in the US. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, she doesn't have to worry.
Anyway, I digress because it's away from the main point of the fact that it's the leaders from all over the world that are making really bad decisions. And it isn't just from the West.
No, of course not.
It isn't just from the West. And, if you want a really, really heavy question, is what is the world going to do about it?
Oh, I thought we had the UN to sort all this out. If I misunderstood something, I thought we had the UN. and the European Union, the EU.
The EU. Van der Leyen, I think her name is.
Yeah,
She was named the other day as a female genocide. I think
yeah, yeah,
Miss Genocide 2023
yeah.
with
Look,
her. I mean, the EU can't even sort itself out.
yeah, I know. Yeah, that's the point I'm making. You got these bodies that are meant to be doing something, and I mean,
They
they do.
don't.
Well, they can't because I remember there was a Yes Minister sketch, a comedy program about politics in the UK, and I recommend people looking online for Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister. Absolutely hilarious. Filmed 30 years ago, it could have been filmed about events now. Quite frankly, only more serious now than it was then. And yeah, it was making a point about all this, and yeah, sometimes they had to create a crisis to hide something else, or it was a what is the one question was what is the purpose of the EU, and why was Britain pushing for a bigger membership of the EU back in the 80s? Because it's like the UN. The more members you have, the more problems you can stir up, the less agreement there is. Absolutely true. If there's a common need to resolve problems, to have trade, that's great. I mean, that is possibly, I mean, they've had this African conferences lately. They've been questioning what benefit Africa is actually getting
In the
from
West.
the West. Yeah. Okay, China invested heavily there. Again, there's issues with that. But yeah, with the West. And yeah, it's exploitation. We know that. We live in Brazil. We know all about how our country has been exploited into issues, although Brazil is fighting back, regardless of who the leader is here and other issues we discussed. Brazil is Brazil. That's why I love it a little bit here. But yeah, there is not the desire to solve things. There's not mutual reasoning to do it. I mean, as you say, us as people, and I'm going to make it. I don't care if somebody's a Arab, a Jewish guy, an Asian, whoever. If they're a good person, that's who I'll judge them on. Their character.
90%. I
Yeah.
think 90% of the world feels the same.
Yeah. I feel sorry to see, well, in the current one, I feel sorry to see Ukrainians suffer. I feel sorry to see Russians suffer. Don't forget, every Russian troop that dies is leaving a family somewhere. I feel obviously feel sorry for the Jewish people who suffered on on October the 7th. I don't like to see Palestinian kids pulled out of rubble. Okay, the Israelis are probably trying to do everything they can to prevent this happening. It's very difficult circumstances. Again, that's power play that's being used by, as we all know, the common ordinary people being used by the people who are doing power play. Which is exactly what's going. These people need a crisis to stay in power. They don't want us to have nice, happy lives. They want us to live in fear. I grew up with literature that spoke about this from the 1930s, the 40s, and the 50s. And I was at school in the 70s. We were being shown it. There's always been fear mongering that's happened. That's not new. As I said in the previous podcast, you and I got a few grey hairs and long in the teeth, and oh, not again. This is the point. Yeah, some more than others. Although I did get mistaken for being an older person the other day in Brazil, and actually got ahead in the queue in a doctor's surgery because of it. I felt a little bit bad about that, but then I looked at the queue and thought, I'm not so upset. Provided, if somebody had been in a serious state, I'd push them in front of me. But it is this is not new, this power brokering. You read Roman history sometimes, and what senators used to do, create problems in order to solve them. Some businesses have done it, and I'm not going to name them, but I do know businesses that deliberately cause problems to go in as the shining knights to resolve them. It is it's a sad fact about human nature, and we do get to the Orwellian thing of all animals are equal. Some are more equal than others. So
Anyway, that was just
yeah,
this podcast was just to say what I thought about
mhm.
Sergey Lavrov and his words.
Yeah. I mean,
He was
it,
short. He was right.
yeah,
He was very short. He excused quite a lot of the world, and he
yeah.
shouldn't have done. I think it's the same the whole world over.
Well, okay. He's a moderate. He's been tipped to be the successor to Putin. I don't know how old the guy is.